Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. So I'm back today with another girl talk. I got you guys to send in your questions over on Instagram as always. We have a bunch of different topics to dive through today and I'm very excited. I've got my green tea and honey, I've got my blanket, I'm all cozy on the couch and it's giving FaceTime vibes. It's giving sleepover talk. I need to tell you one thing before we get started, right? I was getting ready this morning and I found my first grey hair. My first grey hair, and then I found another. It's just confirmed to me that I really am getting older. Right, let's dive right on in. Okay, so our first question is, I want to move to Australia for a year, but my boyfriend doesn't. What do I do? I feel like this is such a difficult situation and one that I'd say a lot of people find themselves in. It's really difficult when you and your partner don't share the same visions, goals, dreams, values, morals. Like, it's so important, especially when it comes to the bigger things like traveling, settling down, starting a family, buying a house, having kids. Them things are so important because they're often things that we just physically can't compromise on. It's either something you do or don't want in your life. And I feel like in this situation, I would say is long distance an option, but I'm assuming he has said it's not an option because you're saying, what do I do? But if long distance is an option, I definitely give that a go because you're saying you only want to go for a year. Like, he can come over and visit you, you can come home one time maybe, but even that in itself, like, he'll get a holiday to Australia, you know, he could come maybe for 2 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the year, and while you guys are apart you can have like daily FaceTimes and messaging, and it's so amazing nowadays, like the communication you can have with someone halfway across the world. If long distance isn't an option, I would say if that urge is really strong within you, like if you're dying to move to Australia, I feel like if you don't do it, it is something you could end up regretting because it's something that people kind of have that real urge for or not. And like, some people move to Australia and never come home. They then see themselves just settling there and living there for the rest of their lives, and they're like, I couldn't imagine a life in England or Ireland or wherever you're from then. So I would say that, but I'd also say I know a lot of couples personally who have broken up under these circumstances, like one person wanting to travel for a year or 2 and they broke up and they ended up getting back together down the line, like when that person came back from traveling. So there is that side of it too, you know. I do truly believe if it's meant to be, it will be. The stars will align. It will happen in the most peculiar circumstances. It's just mad how things work out, you know. So I would personally just say follow your goddamn heart. Like, whatever feels right to you here, I feel like you need to do. Our next question is, what are your thoughts on porn in a relationship? When it comes to this topic now, I feel like it's such a personal thing. Everybody feels so differently on this. If you spoke to 5 people, they're all going to have different opinions on it. It's such a personal thing, and I feel like that's the main thing to remember. In a relationship, the most important thing is that you guys are on the same page with it. That's how I feel. It doesn't matter about anything else. Once you guys are in agreement, some people feel that it's cheating, some people see nothing wrong with it. Some people, you know, only really care about where it's coming from, so that's ethical and you're not watching whatever online because you really don't know what you're watching. If you're somebody who cares about where your adult entertainment is coming from, I genuinely could not recommend Cheeks enough. So Cheeks offers a safe space for entertainment and education. When I first came across Cheeks, I cannot tell you how in awe I was that there's such an amazing platform like this out there. So Cheeks is a subscription-based wellness platform, so you get adult entertainment, you get erotic audio stories, you get expert-led workshops, and you also get a taboo-breaking magazine. So it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely everything on Cheeks is ethical, inclusive, ad-free, and virus-free, which is just insane because most adult entertainment out there is not ethical, it's not inclusive, it's not ad-free, and it's most definitely not virus-free. With my code Jessie, you can access Cheeks for 7 days completely free when you select the annual subscription option, and during them 7 days you can cancel your trial at any point, and you can also swap to the monthly option. So if you get the monthly subscription, it'll work out at £14.90 a month, or if you go with the annual subscription, it will work out at £9.90 a month. So the annual subscription is obviously much better value, but you can get the 7 days free and, you know, go over, see if it's a bit of you, and if it's not, you can cancel. affordable, but if it is, you can sign up to the monthly or annual subscription, but I have a link down below so you can go over it and check Cheeks out. But thank you so much, Cheeks, for sponsoring this section of today's video. Our next question is how to stop sleeping with your ex. My girl's dad see/talk regularly and it just happens. I can't even imagine how difficult this is. Like, I really can't, and I'm obviously not a parent, but I will still give my best advice, like trying to put myself in your shoes. What I would say is you need to separate him from being daddy versus being a romantic partner. So seeing him as a parent versus how he is as a romantic partner. I feel like this is the bit that would get people a lot. Like, you know, you're seeing them in the role of parent and, you know, all their great qualities. Like, we all have good qualities, we all have bad qualities. And you're, you know, and they're like touching your heart and you're like, oh, come here, like, come here. I can just see it happening. But you really need to separate the two because they're two totally different things. And there's a reason you guys broke up. And you need to focus on the why, because there is a why, and I know there's a why, or you guys would still be together, you know, especially in this situation. When people separate and they have a child, it's normally because it's the best thing for everybody. You know, it's so much more toxic to stay together for both you guys and the child. So I'm assuming there are reasons as to why you're not together, you know, so I'd like write them down, and you really need to hone into them and get them into your head. And it's not about like hating them or disliking them, it's just about you being able to separate the two so that you can see him just as the parent, you know, your co-parent, dad. Then I would also say you need to set boundaries. The most important thing here is that you're not spending time together unless it's needed. So only spending the necessary time together when yous are, you know, doing stuff with your child, or maybe you are, you know, bringing her over to his house or whatever the case is. But if she's not around, you shouldn't be spending time together, you know, or not talking unless it's about your child, you know. So just cutting the contact when it's not necessary, because I can imagine yous are having a bit more interaction than needs be, you know, if yous are still sleeping together. And I'd also make it very clear to him, like tell him that this needs to stop, like this can't go on, it's not good for you, it's messing with your head. I feel like making it clear to him and expressing the boundaries with him is a huge part of this, because, you know, it's all well and good if on your end you have all these good intentions, but then he's coming over and he's like grabbing you and, you know, saying things to you that are maybe not appropriate given the circumstance. So just get really clear on it. It's also a mindset thing, so be strong. I know you can do this. You're well capable of doing it. We've got a little bit of an interesting one here, girls. Let me know what you think about this below, right? We've been going out for almost 2 years and I still haven't met his parents. Is it weird or am I overthinking it? What I would say is, has he seen his parents and has he met your parents? And if the answer to both of them questions is yes, I would be extremely concerned here, because nearly 2 years is a hell of a long time. And by this question, I get the impression that he has a relationship with his parents, so it's not like he doesn't have a relationship with his parents. And I don't know why, but I'm also picking up on the fact that he has seen his parents, because you're questioning it. And if he hasn't seen his parents since you guys have been together, I don't think you would question it. But yeah, there's something fishy going on here, I feel, especially if he's met yours, because what's his reason? Like, what's his why? That's what I really want to know. I wish I had more information here. Like, what's his excuse? Because I feel like introducing your partner to your family is so important, because, you know, it's such a big part of your life. Like, even if you're not super close with your parents, but you still have a relationship with them, that's like your upbringing, that's your childhood. I feel like it's important that, you know, you mesh into one another's lives, you know, and you meet friends and you meet family, etc. And you aren't all going to get along, like, you know, but that you are being, like, you know, included in his life. Like, I'd ask, have you met his friends? Is he including you in other parts of his life? Or do you feel like you're very much in one box and the rest of his life is another box? Because that would really concern me, and I don't think you're overthinking it at all. If he's told you you're overthinking this, he's gaslighting the shit out of you personally. Like, nearly 2 years, come on. How can you tell someone they're overthinking that? Unless he has a really good goddamn reason. Like, unless you guys are living in Australia and his parents live in Ireland and you haven't been able to afford flights or get over to see them. Like, have you spoken to them on the phone? I have so many questions. I would be getting to the bottom of this if I were you. Or else I'm just really overthinking it now. Please give me updates though if you do get to the bottom of this. Our next question is, it's my first time ever having a yeast infection / BV and I want to keep it at bay. What do you do? Oh girl, I feel you so bad. I suffered so badly with yeast infections in my young teen years. Like, oh my god, so bad. And I have not had one in years, thank God. Touch wood. But I've got some tips for you. The fact that you just got your first yeast infection, I'd ask, have you recently had a dose of antibiotics? Because this is when I first started getting them when I was young and I had no idea what was causing them. But antibiotics can often cause yeast infections because they're stripping all the good and bad bacteria out of your body. So then there's like an overgrowth of yeast down there. Because obviously our vaginas are self-cleaning, but it just messes up our whole, hormone balance side. So if you have been on antibiotics, that's probably what's caused it. Make sure you are taking your probiotics every day, girls. So probiotics will put the good bacteria back into your body, back into your gut, and so important, especially if you've been on antibiotics, but just daily. Like, I take probiotics every day, apart from when I forget, and I have forgotten. The last couple of weeks I have not been taking my probiotics, so thank you for reminding me. So you need to be wearing breathable underwear. It's so important. Cotton underwear, it doesn't have to be 100%, very hard to get 100% cotton a lot of the time, but even 95%, 90%. Keep things loose. Don't be wearing really tight underwear and tight clothes all the time. You need to let her breathe. So if you're out and you're wearing, I don't know, jeans or leggings, and you come home, put on your loose, comfy pajama bottoms and wear your cotton underwear. Just as much as possible, make sure you're letting her kind of breathe. You do not need to wash her. Our vaginas are self-cleaning. You don't need to put any scented soaps or lotions or potions down there. You need nothing. You just wash with water, because putting any scented products down there can really irritate us because it's so sensitive. And avoid really hot baths, like scented bubble baths, scented bath products. Bath bombs are so bad. Oh my god, they're really bad for our vaginas. Make sure you're not douching. Douching is literally the worst thing you can do. Like, we don't need to douche. Like, some of the information out there around feminine hygiene is so dangerous. Like, and no wonder then people are getting constant infections non-stop, because we're not being taught the proper way to take care of her. It's all about selling us products when we don't need any of these products down there. She cleans her goddamn self. Then if you're on your period, make sure you're changing your tampons, your pads, your panty liners very regularly, because that again can cause infections down there. So yeah, all of them would be my best tips, and I promise you, if you do all of the above, you will very unlikely get a yeast infection or BV. Like, of course, sometimes we just get these things for no reasons. Like, we have bodies. Bodies are weird, but I promise you it's very unlikely you'll continue getting them. Like, I haven't had one in years, and I'm really on top of my game with all this stuff. It's just second nature to me. Like, I don't even think about this stuff anymore. It's just part of my routine now, We all get it. It's so normal, and it will clear up. But my god, yeast infections are so itchy. The itch! You just cannot scratch the itch ever. So my boyfriend and I have been together a year now. He has a tendency to be a bit snappy when he's stressed / frustrated. I know it's not always at me, but I find it hard to not think he's angry at me. I've discussed it with him and he said he'll do better. Is this good or still a red flag? I definitely say it's good that, he's listening to you and he's taking on board what you're saying, and he's not arguing or, coming back in any way. So I wouldn't say it's a red flag. None of us are perfect. I would say that the important thing here is that you see change. It's all well and good saying he'll do better, but you need to see better. So I wouldn't say it's a red flag unless it continues and he says he will do better and then he doesn't do better. That's a red flag, but not this. I would say communicate to him that, you often feel like he's angry at you in them situations. So if he could just say something like, I'm feeling really stressed at the minute, there's this thing going on in work, I'm not angry at you whatsoever, give you a hug maybe and say, I just need some space on my own. Like, something as simple as that can have such a huge effect on the other person, aka you. So even if you just give him that example, because it's all well and good saying, I'll do better, but maybe he's like, what's better, you know? He might think better is bottling up his emotions, but that's not what he needs to do. He just needs to express them better instead of taking it out on you. You can feel your emotions, communicate them to you, but also then, like, you know, remove yourself. Maybe he needs to go for a walk, or he needs some time in his own, whatever he needs to do, that's fine. But as long as it's communicated to you so that you're feeling relaxed and you're like, okay, he's stressed about work, but he's given me a hug and told me nothing to do with me. So, you know, let him cool off, have his time. We're all our own people at the end of the day, you know. We all have emotions. We all need to process them in our own ways. Okay, so my last relationship ended 2 years ago. I'm currently dating someone else who I really like, but I can't stop thinking about if I want to be with my ex who has expressed interest. Currently friends. I can't imagine my ex not in my life, but the romance/sexual passion was really lacking. Any advice? I feel like you've answered your own question there. So you say that you and your ex are still friends. So he is still in your life. And if you guys have been broken up for 2 years and you are still friends, then I don't see why that friendship can't continue. Like, I take it then, you know, it wasn't ended on bad terms, there wasn't any bad blood, like nothing really bad went down. But it's the fact that you say that the romance and sexual passion was really lacking. Like, that is a core part of being in a romantic relationship, you know. It's two things that you don't have in a friendship. So I would ask yourself, are you guys more compatible as friends? And maybe that's why you're getting a bit confused, because you get on so great and, you know, maybe you have such a laugh and you have a lot in common, but maybe it starts and ends there because you broke up for a reason. You have been broken up 2 years, you know. Like, a lot can happen in 2 years. So I wonder, is it more so familiarity, comfort, you know, it's what you know. As humans, we're more drawn to what we know than what we don't know. And the fact that you're dating someone new at the minute means that there's a lot of uncertainty there. When you're dating someone new, there is so much you don't know, you know, and it can bring them feelings of anxiety and fear up within you, and it's a roller coaster at the start of dating someone new, really, you know. So I personally, if I were you, I would leave the past in the past. He's an ex for a reason. I would continue on your friendship. You clearly get on great like that. But, you know, romance and sexual passion, obviously depending on how important that is to you, but for most of us it is an important part of a romantic relationship, you know. So that would be my best advice. I don't think it's worth going back to, because I feel like the idea of it is much better than the reality of it, if you get me. Boyfriend of 5 years and I have been terribly miscommunicating about our sex life. I have endo, so sex is quite painful, so I dread it. I also feel like it's very much about him a lot of the time, so I don't want to have sex. How do I express this? I honestly can't imagine how you're feeling. Like, the fact that you have been together 5 years as well, like, it's a long time. Like, you go through a lot with somebody in 5 years, and that you're at this point now where you're really dreading it. I would say, you say that you have been miscommunicating about your sex life. Maybe try and sit down and express to him what you need in the bedroom. If you come at it from like an argumentative point of view, he'll most likely come back from a defensive point of view, because that's what humans do. I would sit down, I'd make a list of what is really lacking for you and what you really need more of. So for example, I'd assume because it's quite painful, certain positions are off the table or are more painful than others. I'd say the speed is very important to you, so you need to go slow and ease yourself into it. I'd also assume that you need a lot more foreplay, and the fact you're saying it's about him a lot of the time, you know, maybe you want him to be going down on you more, like warming you up more. Like, we need that. Like, women really, really need that. We're not like men, you know, where we just see something or we hear something and we're up and we're ready to go. No, we need like a slower process. That's why, you know, they literally say having sex, it doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts in the morning. Like, it starts with how you're engaging with your partner, like, you know, being kind to them, flirting with them, you know, romance, being romantic. All of these things come into our sex life. How you're also feeling with your partner outside of the bedroom is going to affect if you even want to go to the goddamn bedroom with them, you know? Like, if he's being really difficult and he's not listening to you, the last thing you're going to want to do is go to the bedroom with him because you're feeling really unheard. I don't know if you've tried that, but that's what I would try. So you get really clear on what you feel you need and what would help you, and then I'd bring it to him from like a positive angle. So like, I'd really appreciate if we could I really need this, I'm having a lot of pain, it's making me not want to have sex because I need these things, and if I have these things I feel like it will really help me and it will really help our experience in the bedroom because I'll be enjoying it a lot more. Do you get what I'm saying? But I'm so sorry you're going through this. Like, I can't even imagine. I'm sending you the biggest virtual hug right now, and no, you're not alone. Okay, so our next one is, went on 3 dates with this guy. He seems perfect for me and we get along so well. Even bought me flowers on the 3rd date. He called things off 3 days after because of unresolved drama with a recent ex. Do I reach out in a few months or leave it be? I really feel like I'm losing a gem. Oh, you poor thing. I just want to know what the hell he means by unresolved drama with a recent ex. Like, ex, hello, can we leave her in the past? What the hell do you mean unresolved drama? The only thing I can imagine this means is that I feel like this breakup must have been really recent, because otherwise it doesn't make much sense to me. And two, like, is he considering going back? Because, like, it just doesn't make sense to me otherwise. Because what's your other reason for, like, cutting something off if it's going really well? Like you said, you got along so well, brought you flowers on the 3rd date. Like, what's his reason for cutting that off otherwise? I personally, now, of course, it's totally up to you, but I wouldn't reach out because he was the one who cut things off for an ex. That just gives me red flags, like, because I just have questions there. I'm just like, what's going on, you know? I would personally let him reach out if he wants to reach out, and if he doesn't reach out, then let him be. The last thing you want to do is get caught up in drama with him and his ex. And you say you feel like you're really losing a gem, but I'd remind yourself that it was only 3 dates. And 3 dates in, we're only seeing the best version of that person, you know. We really are showing our best selves and putting our best foot forward, and, you know, that's all you're seeing. And, you know, it's also, you know, dates, they're fun and they're exciting and da-da-da. So I would remind yourself of that too. Like, you know, sometimes when something ends really soon, we can romanticize it so much in our head as to what it could have been. But, like, what is this goddamn drama? I just don't understand. Like, I mean, you could reach out in a few months and be like, hey, you know, not really say much, but just, like, slide in and be like, you know, how are things? But I just personally wouldn't, because I feel like you'll be hanging around for them months. Like, you won't maybe put yourself back out there because you'll get, like, fixated on this working out in your head. And if you did reach out in a few months' time and he's like, oh, I'm actually back with my ex, sorry, haha, then you'll be like, I've just wasted months for, like, what? Like, we went on 3 dates and I painted this picture in my head and now it's just nothing, you know? Our next question is, any tips for pregnancy paranoia? Literally use 2 forms of protection and I'm still always paranoid. Makes me not want to do it. I feel like this is something that a lot of women will deal with at one point of their lives or another. I remember I went through it for a couple of years as well. But I would say track your cycle. So, like, track your cycle using the likes of Natural Cycles. That's what I track my cycles on. I know there's other apps. I don't know the names of other apps, but I find Natural Cycles great. If you track your cycle, there's only actually 6 days in the month that you can get pregnant. So it's like the 5 days before you release an egg and the day you release an egg. So if you were tracking your cycle, you can avoid having sex for that week. And if you avoid having sex for that week and you're still using your other 2 forms of protection, there is literally no way that you can get pregnant. Now, I mean, there's always a possibility when you're having sex. If you're having sex, there's always a possibility, but it is highly, highly, highly unlikely if you're tracking your cycle and using 2 forms of protection, because you cannot get pregnant the other days of the month. You know, if there's no egg there, you cannot get pregnant. So that would be my best tips, and that should really help ease your anxieties, because there's no arguing with the inner workings of our bodies, you know what I mean? Breathe, take a deep breath. I'd say try and stop worrying so much. Like, try and shift your mindset. Like, try and be like, no, I'm fine, you know, I'm tracking my cycle, whatever contraceptions you're using. I'm assuming you're on the pill or you have the coil or the bar or something, and then you're using condoms. That's what I'm guessing. You are a good girl, so just keep reaffirming to yourself that you are doing everything in your goddamn power, and you're not going to get pregnant. Speak that shit into existence. while also doing the things to not get pregnant. Okay, my darlings, I'm gonna wrap it up here, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. I love these girl talks so much. I will honestly never ever stop filming them. But don't forget that you can get a 7-day free trial on Cheeks with my link down below. I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you all so very much, and I cannot wait to see you all in my next video.